He's a member of the Financial Services Committee. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. I want to get your take on the economics and the financials of this economy with the Federal Reserve meeting yesterday. But first, give us your take on the Biden agenda and how voters are reacting based on these polls.
Good morning, Maria. And yeah, it's shocking. The economy is one of the things that's central to all political campaigns. Obviously the Clinton campaign was one of the big ones, focused on the economy. And no one has confidence in Joe Biden. And frankly, he seems more interested in whatever it takes to please his staff so that he can go out and get more ice cream. It definitely seems disconnected from the problems that I talked to a couple moms yesterday, and their concerns are, how high grocery prices are going up, and what their kids are dealing with at school. And in our district, things are great compared to other parts of the country. I was just reading ahead of the show this morning. Axios is reporting his approval rating is only 34% in Georgia, which is a great sign for Herschel Walker and the prospects for taking back Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point. You've got the primaries and the midterms on the horizon. And yet we continue to see these issues, pocketbook issues impacting the American people, like inflation at a 40-year high. You're in the Financial Services Committee. What are your expectations on the Federal Reserve's impact? Because, look, Congressman, we've been seeing a sell-off in stocks all year. The investor class out there is clearly worried about the Federal Reserve doing this without incident, going from a wildly easing position, a blown up, balance sheet of $9 trillion to cutting that back to raising interest rates at almost pretty much every meeting. Are you worried about the impact on the economy?
Yeah, I am. I mean, look, I've called for the Fed to stop their asset purchases. They buy $80 billion worth of treasuries and $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities per month in a very programmatic way. And they've been doing that, for, a very sustained period now. But, last August, I met with Chairman Powell and I suggested, hey, wouldn't it be time to start tapering these things now? He obviously felt differently, but of course he's got a different, not the only vote on the Fed in terms of how they do that. They've talked a lot about it, and the market is saying, we believe the Fed, but they're still celebrating. We saw rallies yesterday because, well, they didn't raise rates yet. And, I think that's the thing. If the Fed waits too long, kind of like driving on ice, you have to, if you apply the brakes too sharply, you skid through the intersection, you cause a lot of problems. You have to apply the brakes a little more slowly. And they're running out of time to do that. The economy really is overheating. Prices are really wrecking the economy. They're disrupting the labor market and every other market, as you can tell from the supply shortages.
Meanwhile, at the press conference yesterday, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki went on the defensive when Fox News' Peter Doocy pressed her on President Biden's conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the origins of COVID, Congressman. All of a sudden, given that the president has been asked this question now a few times, why he never brings up the origins of COVID with Xi Jinping, now Biden claims he did talk about it, but they didn't tell anybody. Here's Jen Psaki yesterday. Watch this.
The president said for months that he had not spoken directly to Xi about the COVID origins investigation. Now he says that he did talk to Xi. If the president had that conversation, did it work?
What are you getting at there? Are you suggesting the president wasn't being honest about his own conversation with Xi?
No, but the story did change for months.
We don't share every detail of every diplomatic conversation.
So, Congressman, they decided not to share that detail, the origins of COVID, which killed 5 million across the world. That detail they decided not to share, that Biden did bring it up to Xi. Are you buying it?
No, there's no pressure on Xi to do anything with respect to COVID. There never has been. And Dr. Fauci delivered the goods very early on. By collaborating to hush the idea that we would even look into the idea of a lab leak. It was all natural origins. And as we've uncovered some of Fauci's emails now, we know that other people believed that this is clearly not a natural occurrence. You can look at the virus and see that it was an engineered virus. And so the lab leak theory was the most probable. And then you see some of the same people on those early calls and early emails who got pressure from Fauci. They changed their story, changed the narrative. They went along with the story. And then months later, not long after, get millions of dollars worth of grants directed by Fauci. So this administration needs some accountability, but certainly Dr. Fauci needs it more than anyone. The biggest thing, though, as you point out, China never had any pressure on them. We know clearly this originated in Wuhan, China, and China should give a full account for what happened and how it happened.
Yeah, but it's not. And instead, Jen Psaki thinks she's sly, turning the questions on Peter Doocy. Look, the bottom line here is Biden has not brought up the origins of COVID with Xi Jinping. If he had, it would have been big news. And why is that? That's the question. Is Joe Biden conflicted when it comes to China because all of the money that his family got over the last few years?
We know he's conflicted, and frankly, he's conflicted another way. I think a lot of the leadership of the Democratic Party envies the power that the Chinese Communist Party has over the country. I mean, they're talking about a lot of the same systems of control over our society, and good grief, they needed to know every little detail down to whistleblowers on Donald Trump's call to do what? To hold Hunter Biden accountable. So they're not going to support it in their own administration. No one trusts them, nor should they.
Congressman, thank you, sir. Warren Davidson, we'll be right back.